This is SevereMMA, and it's fight week here for UFC Fight Night Bisping versus Silva, and we're fortunate enough to be joined by one of the world's leading coaches in MMA, a name synonymous with Tristar, Firas Zahabi, and thank you very much for your time. Look, you guys are taking a lot of our British talent and making them better. It seems that a lot of Brits are coming to you now. What do the British fighters bring to the table? What is it that they bring, and what are they missing?
Like most European fighters, they're all good punchers, excellent heart, very good jaws, very good chins, very tough guys, and a little bit lighter on the grappling, wrestling side. But that's something we could work with easily, and I have a great pleasure working with them because I love to train strikers. I'm a striker myself, so I really enjoy the aspect of striking, and I see it playing more and more of a role in today's MMA results. I find it's shifting a little bit more towards the strikers, so I think there's a bright future ahead for the English fighters.
There's a few in particular that obviously we're going to talk about. Yeah, Joe Duffy being one, a phenomenal talent, but more closer to home for us, guys like Tom Breeze, guys like Arnold Allen. Is there an ingredient missing that Tristar kind of helps bring to life? Is there something that the British camps? You said the grappling, but we can get wrestlers here. I think it's different. What is it, or is it a Tristar mentality that fits the English so well?
You know, it's kind of weird because you can get a wrestler, but it doesn't make you a better wrestler in MMA. MMA wrestling is different, and that's what Tristar does. You know, we're experts in MMA. So when you come in, we have wrestling coaches working with you. We have jiu-jitsu coaches, we have boxing coaches, but then we're putting it all together, and that's the key ingredient that you need. You need one of those world-class gyms to help you do that. And we're talking about milliseconds, we're talking about millimeters, we're talking about small little changes that make a big difference at the elite level. So I think that's the most important thing.
I'm going to ask about Tom because he's a guy we've followed since his amateur fights. We've followed him throughout every one of his professional fights that we could attend. We felt then that he was special, and still do. And I take nothing away from anybody else that's going there, but I want to focus on him for a second. I believe he's going to be the UK. He is the UK's best chance at UFC gold, I believe, at the moment. Do you see that in him? Or are we kind of kidding ourselves? It's far too early. He's far too young to sort of make that judgment yet.
I definitely see world champion in him. Definitely. He's a hard worker. He's learning exponentially. He's way better than you've seen him in his last fight. The kid's amazing. He's constantly sharpening his skills, and he's improving leaps and bounds. But then again, I don't like to put pressure on my fighters. I also believe that you have to give them time to grow organically. But make no mistake about it, this kid's he's out for gold. You know, he's not out here just to do well and have fun. He's out for gold, and over the next few fights, I think you guys are going to see more and more impressive performances.
I know it's a results-based business, but at this point in Arnold or Tom or some of these guys who are in their second, third fights, is the win always more important than the performance, or is sometimes a performance in a hell of a fight good enough?
I just put most of my emphasis on the process of getting ready, and the performance and wins will take care of themselves. You know, I mean, you look at Anderson Silva. He's considered to be one of the greatest of all time. He's had the hot and cold performances. If he were to beat his head against the wall and focus on that, I don't think he would have reached the heights he did. Performances, it's a chemistry between both fighters, and it's a question of styles. It's a question of, there's so many things that come down to what the fight looks like. You know, look at two hockey teams that play each other 7 times in a series. One night the game will be really tight and amazing. The next night it will be a blowout. The night after that it will look completely different. I mean, did the two teams change all of a sudden, or is it just the adjustments they're making, the chemistry between the two styles of play? There's a lot of factors. So for me, if you focus on that, you're really trying to control something that's out of your control. It's not really the way it works.
Yeah.
So when fireworks happen in a fight, usually it's because it's a seesaw battle and the style matches very well. So for me, I don't worry about these things. I worry about the process to make my guys win and finish fights. Keep the control in your hands, finish the fight. There's no judges needed. This is always the goal, but what's the process to get there? That's the most important question, and the rest should take care of itself.
We was talking very quickly with Mr. O'Keefe about the British fight. One of the things he said was, one of the things we have to train the Brits not to do is necessarily want to engage in the war. The British fighters are happy, quite happy to go into those trenches and hack it out. Is that about patience? Is that about time? How do you amend that?
I think it's about maturity, because the thing is, in the gym, if they get into a slugfest, we tell them, hey, what are you doing? Are you a street fighter or you're a professional? Which one are you? A professional fighter is going to fight professionally, smart, intelligently, is going to be efficient. Now, when you're in a fight and you're in the heat of the battle, you might lose your cool, you might forget what you've learned if you get emotionally wrapped up. It's about being calculated, it's about being precise, it's about putting away your opponents in a technical, intelligent manner. This is the best fighter, because not only will he win more professionally, he'll last longer in his career.
Have you just summed up kind of the Tristar philosophy there in like a sentence or two? Is that really what you're about?
I think so. I think if your coaches are encouraging you to go blow for blow, they're putting your health on the line, and they're not really teaching you what martial arts is about, to be honest with you. If you told Mayweather, hey, get in there and get in the pocket and trade blow for blow, he'd laugh at you. He'd think you're a fool. And I think he's the epitome of technical excellence, and I think we should emulate that.
Last question, and then I appreciate it's been a long day, and I appreciate your time. What is it about? What is it do you think about Tristar, your philosophy, and your gym that makes it so attractive to some of the best prospects in European MMA? What is it about what you do?
I think it's the cost. I tell them all, the cost here is a good attitude. If you have a good attitude, you can train here. People ask me, how much does it cost? How much does it cost? There's one cost, and it's a very expensive cost. It's a very difficult fee to pay for some people, and some people it's a very easy fee to pay. Come in with a good attitude. If you have a good attitude, we work with you. If you have a bad attitude, you get a warning, 2 warnings, 3 warnings, and you're out. The young British fighters have good attitude, so we get along, and that's what we focus the gym on. Have a good attitude, work, have a good attitude, and the rest will take care of itself.
You've used the word attitude there a couple of times, which gives me a great opportunity to lead in. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask about Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz. I'm not sure. I think I'd have rather have seen, personally, I would have rather have seen the title fight. But this is an interesting fight, and there's no one better to break it down a little bit. Can you break down how you think that's going to go and what the skill sets are?
Actually, I wanted to do an official breakdown. I've been getting so many messages, officially break it down. I've been on the road. I can't do it. So I'm going to do it with you guys here a little bit, okay? I'm going to do it with you guys. You guys are going to get a nice little dose of it. Well, I'll tell you something about Conor. Conor can adapt his style. He fights, and I believe he can fight in many different ways. We've seen him fighting forward, we've seen him fighting backwards, we've seen him adjust his kicking style to the opponent he's fighting. He's really good at adaptation. Diaz fights one way. Diaz fights one way. It doesn't matter if you're a wrestler, it doesn't matter if you're a striker, a clincher. He fights one way. So that's a big advantage for Conor. Conor knows what to expect. Diaz doesn't know as much what to expect. Now, that being said, Diaz has a longer reach. He has a very, very unique punching style, a high volume punching style. Now, Conor is a high volume. Diaz is high volume. So you guys are going to see a fight. This is not going to be one of those slow-paced decisions. This will be a fight, and I give it a 99% chance of being finished one way or the other. 99% chance. I don't see it going to the judges, this fight, because these two guys are going to scrap to the end. I would be shocked if they got into a point-style fight. I'll be horrendously shocked. So can Diaz absorb that left hand or evade it in the first 2 rounds? I think the first 2 rounds is a big chance of knockout, like Conor's history has always been. He's been knocking guys out. Every single victory comes within 2 rounds. Does Diaz get hit? Yes, he does get hit. He does get hit. He gets in the pocket. He gets nasty. So he will get hit with that left hand. He could go down early. He could go down early, guys. Sorry for the Diaz fans. He could go down early. But if he doesn't, if he somehow survives the early storm, I can't wait to see what happens in round 3 and 4, because we've never seen Conor in rounds 3, 4, and 5. We saw him in Max Holloway, but he out-wrestled Max, brought him to the ground. He had torn his ACL. Yeah. When you tear your ACL, it's hard to strike, because you got to pivot off your knee, and you can't twist and turn. So that fight was a bit of a weird one, because Conor tore his ACL. Diaz gets hit a lot. He gets hit a lot. Connor's really good at hitting. It's kind of.
See, there's a lot of people that say Conor only
you.
really has one weapon, which is the
No,
left
no,
hand.
no,
But it seems to me what Conor does incredibly well is uses all his other weapons up, so they forget about it, and then they present the opportunity presents itself.
He's got a lot of weapons. He's got look when he tore his ACL with Max Holloway, he took Max Holloway down. And he took him down quite easily, and he passed his guard, and he took care. He has a lot of tools, but what he does is he uses so many tools against you, and then he's got one. I call it the touch of death. He's got that card, and when he's ready to lay it down on the table, he will lay it down on the table. But if he was a one-trick pony, he'd be easier to avoid. Guys would have made it out of the first 2 rounds more often. It's because he's so tricky in so many other realms. You're defending so many different styles of attack that left hand, he corrals you towards that left hand. So does Diaz get hit? Yes, he gets hit a lot. Can he make his way out of the first 2 rounds? I believe he can. It's possible. He's bigger. It's a welterweight fight. There's so many X factors. So for me, the first 2 rounds are super dangerous for Diaz. The rounds after that, we really don't know what to expect, And Diaz has got the heart. He's got the guts. He's got the toughness. But again, that left hand, man.
We would speak about Conor for a second because, in terms of kind of how your athletes portray themselves and how Conor has chosen to portray himself, it's almost polar opposites. Is there a place, do you feel there's a place for the talkers like Conor McGregor? Do you think that sometimes it detracts from...
I tell my fighters this, if you have that naturally in you, don't make it fake. If it's really who you are, there's nothing wrong with being who you are. But there's a line you shouldn't cross. You shouldn't insult people. So if you have that charisma and you can pick a fight, and look, the truth of the matter is, I'm happy to see Conor break records. It's making the sport bigger, and I encourage him. If he gets paid $100 million, that's great for all of us.
Yeah.
I honestly wish him it. I honestly wish it. Why? Because when people tell me, they're upset, they heard Sage gets paid this much. Good for him. That means he's blowing up the roof. He's blowing up the lines. He's making he's shifting the lines higher up. When McGregor gets the big paydays, when Aldo, we should encourage them, move forward. It's good for everybody.
Yeah.
You should not be upset when you hear somebody's getting paid big bucks.
Yep. That
just means there's more money in our business. So for me, I encourage it. Conor has that natural ability to talk.
Yeah.
What would boxing be if Muhammad Ali kept quiet? Where would boxing be? Yeah. If you have it in you naturally, use it. I just think you shouldn't cross the line. There's things you shouldn't say, like don't make it personally and insult a person, his race or his nationality. I wouldn't go that far. I think there's a line. There is a line.
Do you think that's actively part of Conor's game plan? Because all of his opponents so far have said he's not in my head, and quite frankly, you find it hard watching even as they perform. I find it hard to believe you're not thinking about the things he said. Do you think that there's a part of a strategy there?
I think so, but it depends on the fighter. Like George, when you talk trash, it makes him more motivated because he was so bullied when he was young. You're reviving these old memories of him, and he's like a robotic killer when it comes to bullies. Like if you so for some guys it crushes them mentally, and for some guys it fuels them. Diaz, I think, is gonna fuel him. I think he's been in that world too long, Diaz, that it's gonna fuel him. But again, it's Conor's natural way. So I think he's just being Conor, and that's fine. It's gonna make for an exciting fight. It's gonna make for an exciting build-up, and it's gonna make our sport bigger.
For the fans, is it a bigger fight than RDA, or was the history that fight with Dos Anjos could potentially have made means that this fight can't possibly be as big? What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. For me, because I'm so into the MMA and all that. For me, it's the equals. Like I'm glued to the set. Either guy he fights. I think if they had more time to build it up, I think the Diaz fight could be more big because of all the build-up, because of all the talk. I just looked at the promo and I was so hyped. They crossed out Dos Anjos' name and they spray painted Diaz. Listen, I am not gonna miss this fight. I'm not gonna miss this fight. I would have missed the Dos Anjos fight, but I could see the fans being even more intrigued with the back and forth because Dos Anjos was more quiet and reserved. And but Diaz is not gonna sit back. Diaz is gonna fly. He's gonna pull out the fingers. He's gonna start slapping. He's gonna get in Conor's face. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw down before the event. It's too loose cannon. So we'll see, man. I think in the short period they can build it up even more.
Look, I really appreciate your time. We asked for 5. You gave us 15 for us.